All right, today's lesson we are looking at investigation 1-E. This is on page 36 to 37 of the textbook. All right, it's investigation 1-E and it's called a sweep process. And so we looked at this diagram here and now we're going to go through these questions here. So the very first introduction to this investigation is that different types or different grades of sugar all come from either sugar beets or sugar cane. So for example, white sugar, golden brown sugar, dark brown sugar, and even molasses, they're all produced from either sugar beets or sugar cane. So our question today is, how do the steps of separation and processing produce different grades of sugar? So step one here, we're looking here at sugar cane, but it could also be sugar beets as well. So especially in Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta, we are growing sugar beets. So this example is using sugar cane. So step A, when the sugar cane is ready to harvest, the dry leaves are burned off, the stalks are transported to a factory. Then we get to step B, the stalks are washed, they're chopped up, and then they are shredded. So the first question is actually pertaining to step B. What is the purpose of step B? Okay, so we just finished discussing question 1, which was what is the purpose of step B? So we talked about how it's important that the cane stalks are chopped up into smaller pieces so that the sugar will dissolve more easily. All right, and we had talked about that when we were looking at dissolving and how cutting them up into smaller pieces allows dissolving to happen quicker. Question number 2, how does step C produce a solution or a mechanical mixture? All right, so in part C or step C, the shredded cane is placed in scalding hot water to dissolve the sugar. So if it's being dissolved, is that a solution or is that a mechanical mixture? Let me resume the recording here. So when we're looking at step C, is it a solution or a mechanical mixture? So because there is still shredded cane present, the shredded cane is being placed into that hot water to dissolve the sugar, but the shredded cane is still present. It is still a mechanical mixture. All right. Question 3, to draw a sketch, you can just draw a simple diagram showing a filtering device. Something like here where you'd have a filter, you'd have filter paper or some sort of filtering device. But what your diagram would show is that the filter is going to hold back the shredded cane, but it's going to allow the smaller sugar particles and the water to pass through. All right, so now we're in D. The sugar is heated and chemicals are added to help the filters remove impurities in step E. So step E, there's a filtering device. It's going to remove the remaining shredded bits and impurities. It's going to produce a clear solution now of water and sugar. All right, next in F and G, we're looking at evaporation. So evaporators, they're going to remove most of the water. It's similar to the process that is used in making maple syrup. And then in part G or step G, juice is leaving the evaporators. It's still very dilute, so it gets placed in a vacuum boiler and it's going to remove almost all of the remaining water without making the juice too hot, because if it becomes too hot, it may start to caramelize. All right, so what your diagram should show for question 4 is that the water and sugar particles are in solution, and because it's being heated, they are moving faster. So the particles are moving faster because of the increase in temperature. And then the water particles that are closer to the surface, they are going to evaporate first. So they're going to escape that attraction of the sugar particles, and they're going to release into the air. The sugar is the product we want, so the sugar will continue in this system. All right, so let's look at step H. So in step H, juice leaving the vacuum boiler contains a lot of sugar crystals. A centrifuge, here is a centrifuge. It's going to spin it at a very high speed, just like a spin cycle on a washing machine. And then the remaining liquid is spun off and collected in the molasses tank. So we have some liquid in this molasses tank. The pale brown crystals of raw sugar are also collected. Both the liquid and the crystals are sent to a refinery for further processing. And then in step J, in the refinery, the pale brown crystals of raw sugar are rinsed and dissolved in water. Then the solution gets filtered. The water is removed once again by evaporation and spinning. Then crystals of white sugar are produced at this stage. The liquid that remains is going to be used to produce various grades of brown sugar. The liquid from the molasses tank, which is here, is going to be processed to make several different grades of molasses. So to answer question 5A, what are the first two products that come from a sugar factory? That would be the raw sugar and the molasses. Question B, what happens to each of these products? So like we read here, the molasses gets collected and then it gets refined for different grades of molasses. And then the raw sugar crystals also get sent to a refinery for further processing. Question C, what is the waste product that is discarded in this process?